Okay, let's be honest. Have you ever actually looked at your dinner plate? I mean, really looked. Because believe it or not, the food you see right there tells this hidden story. It's a geographical journey that ties you to the entire planet. So, you know what? Let's trace that map together. Yeah, a scene like this, it looks totally normal, right? Simple enough. But the journey that food took, from just a patch of dirt all the way to your fork, it's honestly an epic. We're talking a story of sun, soil, and a global system that's way more complex than you might think.
So, where does it really come from? It sounds like such a simple question, but the answer, well, it's anything but simple. It hooks us into the lives of farmers, into massive climate patterns, and even the shape of the land itself, sometimes thousands of miles from where you're sitting. So yeah, let's dig in and find out.
All right, first things first. The journey of our food, no matter what it is, always kicks off in the same place, a farm. But here's the thing. A farm is so much more than just a field with some crops in it. It's a living, breathing system, and it has its own set of rules.
So let's just make sure we're all on the same page. At its core, farming, or the more formal term, agriculture, is pretty straightforward. It's how we feed ourselves. It's the whole process of intentionally growing plants and raising animals to eat.
But farming isn't just a single action, right? It's not just about planting a seed and walking away. It's a whole cycle, a system. And this system has three main parts: inputs, processes, and outputs. The best way to think about it, it's like a recipe.
Okay, so first up in our recipe are the inputs. These are your ingredients. You've got the stuff from nature, right? The physical stuff like sunlight, rain, and the soil itself. But then you have to add the human ingredients, the actual labor, the money to make it all happen, and the technology. And that could be anything from a simple hoe to a super complex irrigation system. Next, you've got the processes. This is the how-to part of the recipe. This is where all the hard work happens. We're talking plowing, seeding, weeding, harvesting, all of it. This is the stage where all those inputs get transformed into something brand new. And finally, at the very end, you get the outputs. This is the finished dish. It's the food that actually lands on our dinner plates. But it's not just that. A huge output is also the income for the farmer, which is super important because it acts like feedback, right? It funds the entire next cycle of planting and growing. So, we've got our basic system down. But here's where it gets interesting. That system can look wildly different from place to place. So how do we even begin to tell them apart? Well, geographers basically have this playbook for classifying all the different kinds of farms out there. And it really just boils down to asking three pretty simple questions. First up, what's the scale? Is it intensive farming, where you're packing a ton of output into a small space? Or is it extensive, spread way out over a huge area? Second question, what are you making? Is it arable farming, meaning crops, or is it pastoral farming, which is all about livestock? And the third, final question, what's the point? Is it commercial, meaning you're selling it for profit, or is it for substance, just to feed your own family? Okay, this is where it all comes together. This brings us to the biggest question of all. What actually decides which kind of farming happens where? And the answer? Well, the ultimate boss, the one setting all the rules, is geography itself. You just can't argue with it. I mean, think about it. You could have the most advanced technology in the world, the most dedicated farmers, but if the physical environment isn't on your side, none of it matters. And when we're talking about farming, there are two physical factors that are just absolutely critical. The two big ones, the non-negotiables, are climate and relief. So, climate, that's the obvious one, right? Stuff like temperature and how much rain you get. That determines what can grow and for how long. And then there's relief. Relief is just a fancy word for the shape of the land. Are you working with a flat, fertile plain? Or are you stuck with a steep, rocky mountainside? And this is where it gets really cool. We can actually figure out a landscape's potential for farming just by looking at a special kind of map. That is, if we know how to crack the code. At first glance, this probably just looks like a bunch of wavy lines, but what you're seeing is a topographic map. Think of it like a blueprint of the landscape. It's telling a whole story of mountains, of valleys, of flat plains. We just need to learn how to speak its language. So, the main thing we're trying to decode here is that word again, relief. Remember, that's just the technical term for the shape and the height of the land. And the secret to seeing all of that on a totally flat map, it's all about these things called contour lines.
Okay, so here's the quick and dirty on how it works. Each one of these lines connects points that are at the exact same elevation. So when you see the lines are spaced really far apart, that means the land is flat or just gently sloping. That's perfect for farming. But when you see those lines are packed super tightly together, that's your signal for a steep slope, like a mountain. And that is not so great for growing crops. Pretty simple when you break it down, right?
All right, so now we know the rules of the game. Farming systems are shaped by climate and by relief. So let's take everything we've just learned and apply it to a real-world example. And I mean on a massive, massive scale, China.
Just look at this. This is the power of geography right in front of your eyes. Over here on the left, we've got a rainfall map of China. See how it gets much wetter down in the southeast? Now look at the map on the right showing its farming regions. The alignment, it's almost perfect. Where you see that high rainfall, you see intensive rice farming. The connection is it's undeniable.
And this pattern isn't just a fluke. It holds true across the entire country. Down in the rainy, flat south, you get intensive arable farming, perfect for rice. You go up to the drier northern plains, and it shifts to extensive farming, for things like wheat and corn. And then way out in the mountainous, super dry northwest, well, the relief and the climate there pretty much demand extensive pastoral farming, raising livestock. It's like each region's geography writes its own agricultural destiny.
So, we've seen how geography shapes things on a farm-by-farm, local level. Now let's just zoom out one last time and look at the bigger picture to see the absolutely staggering results of this whole system on a national scale.
After all this, you have to wonder, how well does this incredibly intricate system actually work? Especially for a country that has to feed over 1.4 billion people. Well, the answer comes down to a single, stunning number: 95%. That is China's self-sufficiency rate for its most essential grains. Just wow.
And what makes that number truly mind-boggling is the context behind it. China pulls this off even though massive chunks of its land, because of that relief and climate we talked about, are totally unsuitable for farming. It's just an incredible achievement, and it's built on a deep understanding and mastery of their own geography.
So, there it is, the shape of our planet, its contours, and its climate have always shaped what we eat. But that leaves us with one final really crucial question. As our technology gets more and more powerful, allowing us to do things like build massive dams, irrigate deserts, and maybe even alter climates, we're not just being controlled by geography anymore, we're actually starting to shape it. And you have to ask, what's that going to mean for the future of what's on our plates?